Welcome to your self-leadership reading club. What on earth does that mean? I'm just trying to find our page here. I just lost it. What does that mean? It means that you don't have to buy the book. We're going to read it to you, and then we're going to discuss it together. Here is the book, Jack Canfield's The Success Principles. And I've been teaching leadership now for 22 years, and I decided that one of the big parts of leadership is you need to be able to walk your talk. And in order to do that, you need to continuously improve and share knowledge. So why not do a reading book club? So we are on Principle 14. If you haven't watched the other episodes, I invite you to go and have a look at the previous episodes and show notes, or you can even subscribe and get the weekly show notes sent to you. But we are on Principle 14, which is just lean into it. Just lean into it. You can't cross a sea by merely staring into the water. Isn't that the truth? If you are here live, say hi, comment, send me your questions and your thoughts. Oftentimes, success happens when you just lean into it, when you make yourself open to opportunities and are willing to do what it takes to pursue it further without a contract, without a promise of success, without any expectation whatsoever. You just start, you lean into it. You see what it feels like and you find out if you want to keep going. Instead of just sitting on the sidelines, deliberating, reflecting, and contemplating. Think about this. How often have you sat in an audience and they've asked for volunteers and you've thought, oh, I really should have gone up there? Or how about somebody's talked to you about a business opportunity and you've thought, I really should have done that, when you see someone else that's successful, right? Take the opportunities as they come. You can always walk away from them. Always, 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 right? Lean into it. I use this a lot. Leading into it creates momentum. I should talk more about momentum. It's very important. One of the most extraordinary benefits of just leaning into it is that you begin creating momentum, that unseen energy force that brings more opportunity, more resources, and more people who can help you into your life at seemingly just the right time for you to benefit the most from them. Many of the best known acting careers, entrepreneurial pursuits, philanthropic projects, and other overnight successes happen because someone responded favorably to the question, have you ever considered? Or could I just convince you to? Or would you be willing to take a look at? And they leaned into it. I'm going to give you a quick example of that. I came back from traveling many, many years ago, and I was sat in my sister's spare bedroom, staring at the computer, and this was back in 2003. And I said, you know, I just want to travel still, and I just want to be able to teach people still, and I don't know what to do. And I literally, this is no word of a lie, this is a true story. So I literally opened up the newspaper, and right there was a big article, and it said, Carnival Cruise Lines looking for corporate trainers who love to travel and love to teach. Honestly, this is, you can't make this stuff up. And I thought to myself, for 1 minute, and if you know me, it definitely was only 1 minute. For 1 minute, the shadow of doubt crept across. I can't work at sea. Ooh, what would it be like working at sea? And what if I get seasick and stuff like that? And then I thought, oh, what have I got to lose? At the time, I didn't have any kids. I had no responsibilities. I didn't have a mortgage because I sold my house to go traveling. I literally had a backpack still, and I just lent into it and I went. And I said to myself, if I get there and it's not the best experience, I'll just come home. I have nothing to lose, okay? I've got everything to gain. And let me tell you, I never looked back. It was amazing. I did it for 2 years. It was pretty something. I want to hear your experiences. What did you lean into? Let's take a look at more. Be willing to start without seeing the whole path. So true. Take the first step in faith. You don't have to see the whole staircase. Just take the first step. Of course, just leaning into a project or opportunity also means you must be willing to start without necessarily seeing the entire pathway from the beginning. You must be willing to lean into it and see how it unfolds. And as part of my risk analysis, what I do is I check out with other people who are doing what I want to do, what I want to lean into, and ask them what their challenges were. Where are they now as a result of leaning in, right? Taking the opportunity. Often we have a dream, and because we can't see what's going to achieve it, we are afraid to start, afraid to commit ourselves because the path is unclear and the outcome is uncertain. But leaning into it requires that you must be willing to explore, to enter the unknown waters, trusting that a port will appear. Like, you know, when I was reading that, I was thinking of The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. Can you imagine had they not stepped into the wardrobe, right? What missing experience. It's that sliding doors effect. If you've not seen the movie Sliding Doors, I implore you to go and watch it. The sliding doors effect is that One yes or one no can change your life forever. Think about it when you fell in love. Think about it when you said yes to study. Think about it when you said yes to a job. Think about it when you said yes to dating somebody. Think about it when you change the color of your glasses, change the color of your hair. Something really simple can actually have such a massive effect on everything and everyone around you just because you lent into it. Sometimes you don't even have to have a clear dream. From as early as she could remember, Jana Stanfield wanted to be a singer. She didn't know where her dream would eventually lead her, but she knew she had to find out. She lent into it and took some singing lessons, then eventually got a job singing weekends at the local country club. She leaned into it a little bit more, and at 26 years old, she packed her bags for Nashville, Tennessee, to pursue her dream of becoming a songwriter and a recording artist. 3 long years, and she lived and worked in Nashville, seeing hundreds of more brilliant, talented, and deserving performers than there were record deals to be had. Jana began to see the music industry as a room full of slot machines that paid out just enough to keep you playing. A producer loves your work, an artist considers your song for the next album, and maybe a record company tells you that you're good, but rarely do the slot machines pay out the big jackpot, the big contract. After several years of working as a record promotion company, to learn the business from the inside out, Jana had to face facts. There were no guarantees. She would play the slots forever and grow old in Nashville. Finally, she admitted to herself that continuing to try to get a record deal was like pounding her head against a wall. She didn't realize at the time that often when you lean into it, roadblocks are put in your path to force you into a different path, a path that may be truer to your real purpose. When has that happened, right? I left a management consultant company on a very, very large salary years ago. And I just decided randomly, it's not randomly, it's a whole other story, that to go and work at TGI Fridays. I'm like, you know what, I'm just going to be a waiter or a waitress. In turn, that led me to the path of being a trainer and led me to where I am today and my successful business. I'm forever grateful for making that decision. Let's talk more about Jana. Jana had learned what many achievers have, that even when you can't move forward, you can turn right or you can turn left. But how you have to keep moving. She discovered through some personal development courses that sometimes in the rush to fulfill our dreams, we get caught up in what we think is the only form that will satisfy that dream. In Jana's case, a record contract. So starting to relate to you. But as Jana will soon learn, there are many ways to accomplish your goal if you know what you're pursuing, because underneath her desire to land a record deal was a deeper motivating need. The real motivation for her dream to use her music to uplift, inspire, and offer hope to other people. I want to combine music, comedy, storytelling, and motivation with what I'm here for, she wrote in her journal. She played in living rooms, driveways, schools, churches, anywhere she could. But Jana was still at a loss to figure out how to combine her talents in a way that would be helpful. Jana began to work odd jobs. After leaning into it, trying to figure out how to turn her passion from her art and a desire to help people into something she could make a living from. I'm willing to use my gifts to make this world a better place, she wrote. I don't know exactly how to use my gifts, but I have to let God know when I'm really ready. Again, she leaned into it. She called church. She's saying, if you'd let me come along and sing a few songs in your service, give me a chance to get to know me and how I might be helpful. After just 2 or 3 songs, church members would approach her and ask if she has songs on tape. There was one song, If Only I'd Known. She spent a lot of time then making cassettes and mailing down to people. All the while, her friends kept saying, make an album. You've got all those demos of songs. Oh, I couldn't do that, she said. She paid an engineer $100 to put together 10 of her songs, which she playfully referred to a compilation of the most 10 unsuccessful, most rejected songs. Then came the turning point. My husband went with me to a church in Memphis. They didn't feel comfortable having a card table with the cassettes inside the church, so they put my card table out in the new parking lot. It had to be repaved. It was 95 degrees weather. The asphalt was hot and black, and after it emptied, we got into the car and turned on the air conditioning. She began counting what she'd earned. She'd actually sold $300 worth of cassettes, $50 more than she'd earned all week, working in a freelance job. Today's Jana's company, Keynote Concerts, produced more than 50 motivational concerts a year for groups all around the world. She started her own record company, Relative Famous Records, where she produced 8 of Jana's CDs. She achieved her dream of becoming a songwriter and a recording star, all because she leaned in and trusted the path that appeared. You too can get what you want from where you want to be. You've just got to trust the idea, pick an area of life, career, financial, relationship, health, finance, recreation, whatever it is that you want to explore, and just lean into it. Lean in. Okay, great story from Jana. Yes. Okay, so we know leaning in, going down different paths, but leaning in. Let me talk about the history of leaning in first. So for those that know about body language, when you're really interested in something, you lean towards it. And we do this because we think we're going to actually hear more. And if we're not so interested, we lean out of it. And this is how life works too. So that's where the leaning in come from. Actually came from, I wrote it down, Sheryl Sandberg's book, 2013, Leaning In. Let me see, I think I wrote it down this morning. Sheryl Sandberg, yeah. It's all about women's ascension into the workplace. Leaning In is a great book. It's about how men can support that as well as women. It's not just a feminine circle, but it also all comes round from, it stems from being in a group atmosphere, in a meeting where you're interested, you lean forward. When you're not, you lean back. It's the same thing. If you hear something that piques your interest, lean towards it. I want to hear more about this. You see a video that's about being fascinated about this particular topic, and you think, oh, I like that topic. Lean in and hear more about it. Become interested, become fascinated, right? If you remember, we've talked about the reticular activating system that will constantly scan and look for opportunities, but you have to lean into that topic, lean into that thing that you want to learn, and you will see all these opportunities. And the people start to come around you. It's the law of attraction. Read The Secret by Rhonda Byrne if you haven't already. It's absolutely fact. Some people say that leaning is being assertive. It's leading and not following. So how I read into that, and tell me if you have a different perspective, is that you need to self-lead. There's a reason why we're doing self-leadership right now. Self-leadership is critical. You can't wait for other people to inspire you and to motivate you and to guide you. You need to be able to say, today I'm doing this. I don't care how I'm doing it. I'm going to do a little piece towards it, or I'm going to take a big chunk out of it, okay? Real self-leadership. Don't just follow, okay? You know in your heart. I told this to a student just the other day. I said, don't question yourself. You know in your heart what you want to do. You know in your heart the answer. Take a big leap of faith. And he did, and he aced a particular test. I'm really glad I told him that. You probably see on some social media, there's a great meme flying around constantly for years. But I'm going to ask you the question. What would you do if you just had the courage to take that leap of faith? What would you do? If you knew, if I gave you some guarantees that things wouldn't go wrong, that it wouldn't feel painful, that it wouldn't be hurt, what would you do? Where would you go? Who would you talk to? Who would you give your number to? What would you write? They say that there's a Finnish saying, actually, that there's so many beautiful unwritten books inside funeral parlors and burial sites. It's so true. So many stories, right? What would you do if the current knowledge or current money wasn't an issue? What could you do as a leap of faith, right? Where could you go? I'm going to give you another example of this, personal example. So I wanted to go around the world, and I could see friends of mine at 19 going and doing it. And I'm like, I can't do that. I don't have the money for that. It's cost thousands and thousands and thousands. So when I was 25, I had a bit of a midlife crisis. I know, I was only 25. It's a quarter of my life. And I thought, oh, I actually had lots of things. I had lots of money. I had lots of ambition. I had lots of friends. I had lots of love around me. But I actually felt quite empty inside. So I wrote down a bucket list. And a lot of those was traveling. So I wrote a list of all the places I wanted to travel to, and I thought I'll go in and get a quote. So I walked into STA Travel. Again, you can't make this stuff up. Walked into STA Travel on Deansgate in Manchester, and I said, hi, I'd like to travel to these particular countries. And I wanted to go to New York. I wanted to go to Thailand. I had to think about this. And I wanted to go to, there's 3 places, New York, Thailand, Australia. So I said, can you quote me on that? So she says, yeah, it's 4,000 blah, blah, blah pounds. So it's about 8,000 Canadian dollars, 10,000 US. So let me switch my phone off here. And so I said, okay, yeah, that's quite a lot of money, but okay, this is what I have to save up. She says, well, you do realize that if you traveled the world, it would be cheaper. I'm going to say that again for effect. You do realize that if you traveled the world, it'd be cheaper. I said, what are you talking about? And at the time, there was something called a disco ticket. And she brought out this big sheet of paper that had a map of the world on and all these dots. And she said, if there's a dot there, you can travel to it. You can have 11 places you can travel to in the world. One of them has to be your return destination back to where you started. So 10 destinations around the world. But it's £2,500. It was £2,000 cheaper. I was like, okay, let's do this. So I lent in and I went around the world for a year. Cool, right? So when someone says to you, have you considered? Did you know? Let me offer you this opportunity. Lean in, listen to it. It might be the best thing you've ever done because my perspectives, my understanding of cultures, being able to teach other cultures now, being able to embrace other cultures, the amount of different foods that I've tried, books that I've read, people that I've talked to has nurtured and everything to where I wanted to go because I lent in. If you haven't watched the movie, watch Sliding Doors, look up the sliding door effect. It's absolutely huge. I invite you to do that in your life. What would you do if you weren't scared to do it? How can I help support you in that? Reach out to me, private message me, email me, ella@ellabates.com. Comment on here. If you're watching the replay, do #replay. Until tomorrow, we are on daily 9 till 5, unless it's a statutory holiday. I'm here 9 till 5. What am I talking about? It's 2 p.m. Eastern. We do our self-leadership reading club. I hope you can join us. If you're somebody that likes to grow, I also invite you to join my online community, ellabates.com/time to grow. Guys, have a wonderful day. I look forward to seeing you all tomorrow. Thanks for joining us.